Good evening. There is heartbreak tonight and concern after a 27-year-old man was fatally stabbed in East York.
Tonight, the investigation is looking at several crime scenes. Police say they do not believe the killing was random. CTV's John Musselman has been following the investigation and joins us live tonight with more. John.
Well, Nathan, police are appealing to the community for help here. We know that the victim was stabbed in the rear of the building behind me. Police say the 27-year-old victim was stabbed just after 9:30 last night outside the rear of a low-rise building near Gamble and Donlands Avenue. He's been identified as Ahmed Hassan Asif. Detectives say he lived in the GTA but not in the city of Toronto. They would not say why the victim was in East York last night.
I can tell you that he was a hard-working young man. He was an auto mechanic by trade, and he was very much loved by his family and his nieces.
The victim died at the scene. Police say there was some yelling and some kind of altercation.
My son called me to his window, and he said that he heard a loud sound. We looked outside. We saw 3 cars. One was crashed into a tree, one was in the middle of the road, and then that red one looked like it had damage.
Police also confirmed that a white BMW that crashed into some parked cars is connected to this homicide. It has been seized by police for further forensic examination. At this point, police say this was not random.
My best advice to that person is to contact a lawyer and turn yourself in, because we're coming for you.
Police also sealed off a 3rd crime scene nearby. It's believed they were searching for a weapon that may have been discarded in a stairwell. A suspect wearing all black clothing was seen running from the area after the stabbing happened. So we really don't know what the motive was for this killing. Police are asking anyone with information if they know anything. They're asked to call Toronto Police or Crime Stoppers. Reporting live at the scene, I'm John Musselman. I'll send it back to you.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it. Ooh, a live look at the city this evening. Rain moved in today, and we got a good soaking, and along with it, some double-digit temperatures at times. Certainly a warm-up today. Lots going on, Lindsay, and it's not going to stay warm forever. We're on this roller coaster.
We sure are. So tomorrow it's going to be significantly colder, but we will see the sun return. Can see a little bit of fog happening downtown Toronto as well. We've had the rain. The heaviest rain has now moved out over Lake Ontario and Lake Erie. It is still quite soggy this hour around Niagara Falls, and we've got some thunderstorms impacting portions of southwestern Ontario. That's where a severe thunderstorm watch remains in place right now. Quite a bit of lightning over the last couple of hours there. Temperature-wise, we made it to 11 degrees downtown today. It was closer to about 10 at Pearson Airport, and now the temperature is going to start to fall as these northerly winds start to pick up in strength. What a dramatic change. Overnight temperature about -5 degrees. Waking up tomorrow morning, it will feel like -15. Lots to get to in your weather forecast. For now, though, Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. Still ahead on CTV News, the grandson of a Canadian hockey legend in a legal battle, fired as coach and fighting back, alleging the move is offside. A busy day at Toronto City Hall with councillors tackling a number of motions. From subway safety to snow shoveling, the idea of a city-owned grocery store as well, to what flag should fly at City Hall. There's plenty on the agenda. CTV's Janice Golding is covering City Hall today and joins us with more. Janice.
Hi, Nathan. Yes, there was some outrage here today at City Hall after one of 2 motions involving flying foreign flags outside government buildings was outright rejected. Now, Councillor John Burnside had proposed that the long-standing practice of flying foreign flags at government buildings be banned. He says municipal governments should not be wading into world affairs and says flag raising can be divisive. Meanwhile, Councillor Lily Chang had proposed that the practice be expanded to permit the pre-revolutionary Iranian flag to be flown at the North York Civic Centre. That motion, however, didn't even get to the point of debate today because the Speaker ruled it out of order. City of Toronto rules stipulate that only flags recognized by the federal government be flown, and the lion and sun flag has not been used since the 1979 Iranian Revolution. Here's reaction.
This is not a flag of a state. This is just a movement flag, just like LGBTQ flag. It's a movement flag, you know? It's a freedom-seeking, democracy.
You didn't even give us a chance to talk about that, to negotiate about that. To be honest, we are disappointed from what happened today. We had our flag raised in Aurora, Newmarket, Richmond Hill, everywhere, but we got disappointed one more time from the City of Toronto.
I feel gutted for my Iranian community. This is so important to them at such a precarious time, and it feels like a bit of silencing, and the irony is they're fighting for freedom and democracy.
Now, Councillor Chang says other GTA municipalities, including Vaughan and Richmond Hill, have actually flown the pre-revolutionary flag in recent months. By contrast, however, Councillor Burnside said, while we do fly dozens of flags outside City Hall every year, he believes that number should be reduced. Here's what he has to say.
A flag is supposed to be a symbol of what brings us together, not a focal point of what divides us. And unfortunately, it's been a focal point of what divides us. I've watched riot squads of police officers go up and down Bay Street in preparation for a particular flag raising, and that has to stop.
Now, Councillor Burnside's motion just passed 5 minutes ago with a vote of 19-7. And what that means is starting December the 1st, only City of Toronto provincial and Government of Canada flags can be flown outside of City Hall alongside sports flags as well as nonprofit flags. That again will start on December 1st. There are other issues that will be up later this evening, including a proposal for 4 city-run grocery stores, as well as a proposal that would have more police patrols at every single TTC subway station. That's it from us here at City Hall. I'm Janice Golding. Now back to Michelle and Nathan.
Thank you, Janice. A busy day at City Hall and over at Queen's Park.
It is budget day. The province tabled its 2026 spending blueprint. The Ford government hopes will guide Ontario on the potentially precarious road ahead amid these trying economic times. CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris is live at Queen's Park tonight with more on the province's plan. And Siobhan, how it's being received.
Well, we do know that the province was expecting really dark times under U.S. tariffs. Things are better than anticipated this time last year, but we are tipping even deeper into deficit.
There he is. It's once again called a plan to protect Ontario, a budget delivered a year after U.S. tariffs were introduced. Ontario's in for deeper deficits for longer, even though tariffs didn't squeeze the province's economy as much as feared.
Our plan is cautious where it must be and ambitious where it should be.
The government projects a deficit of almost $14 billion this year, significantly more than the $8 billion predicted in Budget 2025. Next year, a $6 billion deficit, with a return to surplus in 2028-29, a year later than previously planned.
Of course, I'd prefer to have a smaller deficit. I'd prefer to balance sooner. But we have to live in the world we're in.
A world Bethlyn Falvey says still has a lot of challenges. Ontario will spend $244 billion this year. $101 billion of that goes to health, $42 to other programs, and almost $41 billion to education. You've already heard some of the promises in this spending blueprint. $6 billion more for colleges and universities, with an overhaul to OSAP and the end of a tuition freeze. Accounts for elementary teachers to buy classroom supplies. More cash for primary care. And waiving the HST on new home purchases for all buyers for 1 year. But here's what's new. A 1% income tax cut for small businesses, an extra $1 billion for home care over 3 years, $186 million more to the Ontario Autism Program, and $41 million for a program that puts police officers in schools. The government is also setting up a new $4 billion investment fund, working with a private manager to find companies that line up with the province's economic priorities. Think defense, data centers, and tech companies.
Come up with great patents and intellectual property. And then investors come from around the world and buy up those patents and move the offices to wherever, to the U.S., Silicon Valley, move the talent. I want that to stay here.
The opposition feels government priorities are out of line with people struggling to make ends meet.
This budget was an opportunity for Doug Ford to choose a stronger, more affordable future for Ontario. What we heard instead was stale announcements, more cuts, and a missed opportunity to deliver better for the people of Ontario.
There's frustration over government excitement for new highways, an expanded Toronto Island Airport, a possible tunnel under the 401.
These projects are so irresponsible that the government talks about them in the budget, and never assigned dollar figures to them because they're too embarrassed.
The Liberals flipped the name of the budget and the government's motto.
They're pretending. They're not protecting.
Now, these aren't promises with dollars attached, but down the road, the government is looking at possibly standardizing rules for ride-sharing services and ways to protect your loyalty points. Reporting live from Queen's Park, I'm Siobhan Morris. Nathan and Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Siobhan. And later tonight on CTV News, we'll go one-on-one with the finance minister and take a closer look at the provincial budget.
An elderly man and a cat are dead following a house fire in Hamilton. Emergency crews called to a home on Fennell Avenue East near Mountain Brow Boulevard early this morning. A man in his 80s was pronounced dead there on scene, while a woman in her 80s was taken to hospital in critical condition. Her status later listed as stable. Hamilton Fire says the cat was found deceased at the property as well. The cause of this fire is under investigation. And emergency crews responded early this afternoon to a house fire in Ajax. This was the scene on Sherwood Avenue near Church and Kingston. Durham Regional Police said they were aware of an apparent construction or mechanical related fire in the attic of the home. They say all residents got out safely as fire services worked to put out the flames. No word on the cause.
Shots were fired at a business in South Etobicoke early this morning. Police were called to the Lakeshore and Islington area around 3:30 a.m. A building in the area was hit by gunfire. Police say they attempted to stop a vehicle leaving the scene, but it managed to get away. However, the suspect vehicle later crashed into a fence near Eglinton and Royal York Road, roughly 10 kilometers from the shooting. Police say the suspects ran from the crash scene. Investigators have not given any suspect descriptions.
Police are searching for a driver following a hit and run in Mississauga. A woman was struck by a vehicle in the area of Derry Road and Huron-Ontario Street. This was around 6 a.m. She was taken to hospital with serious injuries, and the vehicle involved left the scene. It's described as a white sedan with heavy damage to its right front corner. Peel police are asking anyone with information to come forward. A Toronto hockey coach whose grandfather was a trailblazing black hockey player is fighting back after he was fired from his position.
As CTV's John Woodward reports, his lawsuit says to get rid of their coach, the team invented a parent complaint and the parent as well.
You're going to pick the puck up.
Rayne Carnegie is at home on the ice coaching up-and-coming AAA hockey players, sharing what he learned from his time in the Quebec Maritimes Junior Hockey League. And what he learned from his grandfather, Herb Carnegie, a black player denied a chance to play in the NHL, though was inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame in 2022.
I tried to follow in his footsteps, and my son's on the ice right now trying to follow in both of our footsteps.
But much of that was derailed late last year when Carnegie was fired as a coach by the Toronto Titans.
I just got blindsided by it, and ultimately I still don't clearly understand why that happened.
His lawsuit says tensions started in August when one coach told Carnegie's 13-year-old son he had dreamt of hitting him with a hockey stick. Carnegie complained to the Titans, which alerted the Ontario Hockey Federation, which determined the coach's comment was a violation of its rules. A few months later, Carnegie was the subject of a complaint from a parent calling themselves Rick Jones, and the Titans suspended him. The OHF found that complaint without merit, saying the entire matter originated from someone identified as Rick Jones. This person has never been identified. Team parents say they've never heard of Rick Jones.
Then we're like, who is a Rick Jones? There's nobody on the team.
The lawsuit alleges that Rick Jones' complaint was fabricated and was just a pretext to remove Carnegie from his coaching position. The Titans didn't respond to any questions from CTV News. In court filings, they don't identify Rick Jones either, but specifically deny that any decisions made with regard to the plaintiff were made as retribution. Carnegie says he looks to his grandfather for strength to carry on.
That's the biggest thing for me as a father, is if I didn't take this stance, what does that show my children?
Continuing to train his son and many of the players from his former team in the Toronto hockey rink that bears his grandfather's name. John Woodward, CTV News.
The bodies of the two Air Canada pilots who were killed in last weekend's runway collision in New York were returned home today. Mourners gathered on the tarmac at Newark Liberty International Airport for a dignified transfer back to Canada. Pilot Antoine Forrest and First Officer Mackenzie Gunther died when their plane collided with a fire truck that was crossing the runway Sunday night. The truck was responding to an issue with another flight. A repatriation ceremony was held this afternoon for Mackenzie Gunther on the tarmac at the Ottawa International Airport. Pilots carried the casket off a plane as mourners looked on. The 24-year-old first officer graduated from Toronto Seneca's aviation technology program in 2023. The school says he joined Jazz immediately after graduation, beginning his career in aviation. The plane carrying both pilots then went to Montreal, where the body of Captain Antoine Forrest was taken. Air Canada's CEO has apologized after facing criticism over his message of condolence earlier this week. Michael Rousseau used only 2 words in French in that message, bonjour and merci. Today, he reiterated his condolences and said, "As President and Chief Executive Officer of Air Canada, it is my duty to support those affected by this tragedy. I am deeply saddened that my inability to speak French has diverted attention from the profound grief of the families and the great resilience of Air Canada's employees who have demonstrated outstanding professionalism despite the events of the past few days." Rousseau has been summoned to testify at the House of Commons Official Languages Committee.
The federal government is introducing legislation it says will lower the cost of building homes. Ottawa says the proposed $1.7 billion fund is intended to help provinces and territories reduce development fees and other levies to speed up construction. The money can also be used to reduce internal trade barriers, but it will be up to each province to decide how they will use these funds. Ontario has said it's working with Ottawa to temporarily remove the harmonized sales tax from some newly built homes for 1 year. Well, for the first time since the Cold War, Canada has hit its target of spending 2% of GDP on defense.
It amounts to more than $60 billion a year, and it's expected to transform our armed forces. CTV's Judy Trin has the details.
After touring a warship, the Prime Minister announced that Canada had taken aim at a NATO target and hit its mark.
In 10 months, we have invested over $60 billion in our defense and security. And as a result of these efforts, this morning, NATO confirmed that Canada has achieved its 2% defense expenditure target.
Getting from 1% to 2% has taken 12 years. Progress has been slow until Carney's investment surge in 2025. For the first time, all 32 NATO members have reached the 2% target.
For too long, European allies and Canada were over-reliant on U.S. military might.
The 2% pledge was first made in 2014. Conservative Prime Minister Stephen Harper didn't want to do it.
I'm certainly not going to spend on a massive military expansion just for the sake of doing so.
Under former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, Canada was called out on the international stage.
Talk about riding on America's coattails. They have the safety and security of being on our border.
Movement didn't happen until the biggest player in the alliance uttered threats.
And they said, if you don't pay your bills, we're not going to participate, we're not going to protect you.
Canada may have spent more than $60 billion on defense in 2025, but the military is still short about 15,000 soldiers, and from jets to ships to submarines, half of the equipment isn't working.
We are still waiting for new submarines. We are still waiting for new tanks and other armored vehicles for our Army. And we are still a long way from having new warships.
The overall readiness, the ability of the military to actually conduct a military operation or go to war is at a multi-generational low point right now.
Going forward, Canada and other NATO members are committing to spending 5% of GDP on defense by 2035. For Canada, that means spending $150 billion annually. Judy Trin, CTV News, Ottawa.
Meanwhile, Canada is pitching a new defense-related plan to its fellow G7 members. Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand is meeting with her counterparts in Paris. She urged them to support a Canadian plan for a defense bank. It would provide financing for small and medium-sized defense firms that struggle to access capital. The amount would depend on how many countries participate.
Canada could play a role in helping ships move freely through the Strait of Hormuz if there is a ceasefire in the Middle East. Prime Minister Carney says there are ongoing conversations with some NATO allies about Canada joining an effort to restore the movement of vessels. Iran blockaded the crucial waterway in retaliation for U.S. and Israeli attacks. Last week, Ottawa expressed a willingness to contribute to reopening the strait. Meanwhile, Donald Trump has extended his deadline for Tehran to open the Strait of Hormuz. The U.S. president says he will now wait 10 days until April 6th before destroying Iranian energy plants. Trump insists ceasefire talks are going very well, and the request to extend the date came from the Iranians.
We have some spectacular images from space to show you tonight. These are the clearest photos ever taken of Saturn. NASA says they show a level of detail that has never been seen before and display subtle color variations. The images of the gas giant with icy rings were captured by the James Webb Space Telescope and the Hubble Space Telescope in 2024. NASA says they give scientists a richer, more layered understanding of the planet's atmosphere.
Coming up, he escaped a raging house fire but went back in. 5 years later, the Governor General honors a hero who gave his life trying to save others.
Well, tomorrow will be cold but sunny. Today was a little rainy, but mild. Winds are making it to 20 degrees today. That was our record to beat here in Toronto. We were about half that. So waking up tomorrow morning, it's going to feel like a shock to the system. -7 degrees by about 7 a.m., feeling into the minus teens. Here's the thing, though. We do see signs of a bit of a pattern change into next week. How do double-digit temperatures and maybe highs in the teens sound to you? We've got a look at your extended long-range forecast after the break.
Returning to our top story, the province released its budget today. Now, for more, we're joined by Finance Minister Peter Bethlenfalvy. Minister, thanks for joining us. The opposition is already slamming the budget. Affordability is an issue. Another concern is unemployment. Why wasn't more done to protect jobs and help laid-off workers?
Breaking news, the opposition doesn't like the budget. So at the end of the day, this is a budget that delivers for the people of Ontario. It puts more money back in their pockets, some $12 billion since that we've put in the budget. Many different things. We've cut taxes, personal income taxes, the gas tax, so many things. But it continues to invest by cutting the HST or the HST rebate for new purchases of new builds. For every Ontarian that can put on $1 million home, $130,000 back into the pockets on a new build property, so that's real money. And of course, it cuts the small business tax. Many people own small businesses. This is going to help 375,000 businesses. We cut the tax by 30% for small businesses. So there's a lot in here. We're leaning into infrastructure, $210 billion right across the province. That's putting people to work. We're kind of boosting the economy. A good job is what people want, along with the affordability measures. $12 billion for families and individuals, $10 billion in the pockets of businesses.
Minister, there's also money for education, yet cuts to OSAP. I'm sure you know students rallied at Queen's Park this week. Why not reverse the OSAP cuts?
Well, there's no cuts to OSAP, so let's get that straight. The OSAP is remaining in place. The mix has changed, but there's also, we're continuing to support with the OSAP grants and the loans. There's no cuts. We know that also universities and colleges provide $1.8 billion in bursaries and grants. We have supports in place, the Enhanced Student Access Guaranteed Fund, which helps even more low-income people get an education. So, no, we're there. We just want to make sure that the sector is sustainable for the long term, that we can fund OSAP for generations to come, that we can fund colleges and universities. We put in an extra $6.4 billion today into colleges and universities over the next 4 years, so they're sustainable. So we're there for students. We're there for the professors. We're going to continue world-class education.
Also, you did mention the HST rebate, but critics are saying it should be more than just 1 year, and we also need to build more affordable housing. How do you respond to that?
Well, I haven't heard those critics. Many across the province are really celebrating us taking action on making life more affordable for people who have the dream of home ownership. I think this is going to, I've heard a number in the industry say this is a game changer. I talked to a lot of the construction workers yesterday. This is fantastic to keep people working in the construction industry. It's helping with affordability. It's going to boost our economy by $2.7 billion and create 21,000 new construction jobs. That's putting food and money on the table to pay for food, rent, or mortgage. This is a very positive development. We want to get people into the housing sector where they dream of owning a home. This is a big part of our measures to make that possible.
You know, the deficit has more than doubled. How much of a challenge will it be to finally balance the books?
Well, that's our goal, and you know we're a province that are absolutely committed to balancing the budget. I think in Canada we balance it before anybody else. That's positive. All at the same time that we're cutting taxes. We're cutting taxes, and we're investing record amounts in our healthcare system. Remember, our population grew 2 million since we took over in 2018. 2/3 of that is since COVID. So we're absolutely investing in our social infrastructure, healthcare, education, social services, cutting taxes, and boosting our economy by cutting the small business tax, by cutting the HST, and by taking measures to support workers and retraining and reskilling. So I'm optimistic that whatever comes our way, Ontario is prepared for the challenges ahead.
Okay, Ontario Finance Minister Peter Bethlenfalvy, thanks for your time.
My pleasure.
There's a lot on the province's plate, and while that's happening, our Blue Jays are going to be stepping up to the plate. The home opener is tomorrow, and when there's baseball back in the city, you think, okay, spring weather, let's go.
Nice transition. And will the Dome be open? I mean, first day of the, first game of the season?
It will not be open. I mean, there's a reason why our boys play under a dome, because of the weather, like what we're going to experience tomorrow. Interestingly enough, I was crunching the numbers, and it looks like the coldest home opener the Jays have ever had was back in 1980, but our temperature is going to be close to that.
Wow.
The temperature that day was near freezing. We might make it to +2 tomorrow.
Okay.
But hey, at least there's going to be sunshine. That's good news for any of the fans who are heading down to the Rogers Centre and are going to be making their way in. Just make sure you bring a couple of layers with you. Here's a look outside. It's not so cold right now. In fact, it is still 8 degrees I'm seeing at Pearson Airport this hour. It is still a little foggy, a little cloudy. We're starting to dry out, though, in many areas. Here's a close look at the satellite and radar. We do have dry pockets around downtown now at this hour. Still a little unsettled for the east end of the GTA and the west end. Still some rain around the city of Hamilton. Some thunderstorm activity has been happening across extreme southwest Ontario, but the majority of the heavy rain is now moving out. I wouldn't even call today's rain all that heavy. It was steady at times, but for the most part, we've been dealing with some ongoing showers since early this afternoon. Winds are going to strengthen as we make our way into the night tonight. That's thanks to a cold front that's associated with this clipper. The winds will eventually settle down tomorrow, but by the time they do, the damage will be done. Wind chills into the minus double digits through the overnight hours tonight. What a sudden drop in temperature, a nosedive. Overnight temperature about -5 degrees here in the city of Toronto, and then waking up tomorrow morning, -7, -8 degrees in many areas, feeling like -15. We're going to fight to make it to an afternoon high of +2 tomorrow. The sunshine will hopefully help, but we are well below seasonal. 7 is where we expect to be this time of year. And again, even with the winds gradually easing as the day goes on, it's likely to feel colder than what the temperature suggests. Might stay below freezing tomorrow in places like Collingwood as well as Huntsville, near freezing in Trenton, and perhaps -1 degree in the Uxbridge area. Speaking of -1, that's the temperature that we expect at first pitch tomorrow. So yes, everyone will be nice and warm inside the Dome for the game, with the boys of summer back in town, although that feels more like the boys of winter to me, never mind even spring. A high pressure going to be in play for tomorrow, so that means sunshine. We do, however, see a little bit of active weather returning to our forecast on Saturday. There's tomorrow afternoon. Friday looks great. Bit of an increase in cloud cover for the late afternoon and evening. Chance of flurries into Saturday. No measurable snow, at least not for us here locally. And I do have some good news for Sunday. We've got some more comfortable conditions on the way. So 10 degrees is what we're forecasting for your Sunday after a high of +3 on Saturday. And then look at this, teen temperatures at times as we make our way into next week, and a few April showers for the first day of the new month on Wednesday. That's the weather for now. Stay with us. CTV News at 6. We'll be right back.
It was a devastating house fire that killed 4 people, including one who managed to escape the blaze but went back in an attempt to rescue others.
Today, more than 5 years after the fire, that man was honored posthumously by the Governor General for his bravery. CTV's Beth McDonnell spoke with his family.
Matthew Zabal died in a raging fire trying to save others. His heroic act now recognized with one of Canada's highest honors, the Star of Courage.
It was an honor. I'm so proud of what he did.
Nina Zadibal for her son, the late Matthew Zadibal.
Accepted by his mother, the whole family traveled to Ottawa from Toronto for the ceremony at Rideau Hall, where the Governor General presented the decoration.
I wish he had survived it, but I'm just very proud that we raised him right.
It's been more than 5 years since the early morning January fire on Gainsborough Road in Toronto's East End killed 4 people. That night, 31-year-old Matthew was visiting a friend who lived in the basement and stayed overnight by chance. They made it out, but hearing screams, Matthew went back in to rescue others still trapped, including a 7-year-old boy who didn't survive. Matthew never made it out alive.
Hear a screaming child and him not doing nothing, it would have hurt him in the future, I believe. He did the right thing. No matter what. Our son Matthew enjoyed life. I just wish it wasn't cut short.
A joint investigation by the Office of the Fire Marshal and Toronto Police found the fire was caused by an electrical failure, and the home had no working smoke alarms.
He was very generous.
They weren't even aware he had been nominated until a family member came across an article. Months later, they're incredibly proud to see him honored.
It's very touching to know that even though he's not here, he's still being remembered for his acts and his last moments.
You know, he wasn't only a brother to me and Craig, he was a brother to many. Be able to have the recognition for what he's done and the sacrifice that he made means a lot to our family.
Matthew's mother doesn't know if there will ever be closure. The Star of Courage, a small step in their healing, shining a light on the hero Matthew was. Beth McDonnell, CTV News.
Health Canada wants you to know about a recall of milk products due to the possible presence of glass. The 2-liter milk cartons of various types were produced by AgroPure, with several affected products not distributed in Ontario. The exception is Natrel brand 1% lactose-free chocolate partly skimmed milk. That was sold nationwide with expiration dates in April and May. Specific lot numbers are on the Health Canada website, with customers urged not to consume or use these recalled products.
Bill Maher is set to receive the Mark Twain Prize for American Humor from the Kennedy Center. The news comes days after the White House press secretary denied the report. Maher has a long history of both praising and criticizing U.S. President Donald Trump. The vice president of the Kennedy Center says while the comedian is known for politically incorrect jokes, he has been influencing American discourse since before the Mark Twain Prize was established.
Paul McCartney is out with a new track, counting down to his first album release since 2020.
Looking back at white and black, reminders of my past.
That's the song Days We Left Behind. McCartney says it's a reflection on his memories of Liverpool. It's the lead single of the 83-year-old's upcoming album, The Boys of Dungeon Lane, named after a place near his childhood home. The album is also expected to touch on early adventures the former Beatles shared with bandmates George Harrison and John Lennon. It's out May 29th.
After the break, the opening day roster is set. Plenty of familiar faces are back. The Toronto Blue Jays are ready to play ball, and the excitement around the city is building. We heard from the Bank of Canada today about the higher price of oil. BNN Bloomberg's Marilla Fernandez has more.
The Bank of Canada says that higher oil prices will push up inflation in the near term. Senior Deputy Governor Carolyn Rogers says it is the bank's priority to guard against the higher price of oil inflating the price of other goods and services. She adds that it's too early to assess the impacts of the oil price on Canada's growth, but it can boost income for energy exporters but squeeze consumers. TD Economics is lowering its forecast for Canadian home sales and prices. It expects sales to drop about 2% this year and prices to drop 0.3%. Ontario and BC are getting the sharpest downgrades, with potential buyers finding it harder just to make ends meet. More than half of Canadians surveyed say they aren't living in their ideal home. Most want more space but can't afford it. The Century 21 spring study also revealed the average Canadian home buyer has a budget of $677,000 to spend on a home. Here are the closing numbers for the day. The Canadian dollar is down to 72.17. West Texas Intermediate is up over $4 to 94.48. Western Canadian Select, however, is down to 74.33, and the TSX lost almost 500 points today. Those are your business headlines. I'm Morel Fernandez.
As more Canadians look to vacation within the country rather than south of the border, the cost to buy a cottage is expected to climb across Canada this year. A report from Royal LePage forecasts the median price of a home in so-called recreational regions will rise 4% year over year to more than $604,000. That increase is expected to be larger in Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and Atlantic Canada, and smaller in Ontario and BC. But the report says prices have been kept afloat everywhere by the inherent scarcity of available properties. With an end to the war in the Middle East still very much in question, oil prices surged again today.
Since the start of the war, the price of diesel has increased more than 40%. That jump is hitting the trucking industry hard, with consumers set to pay the price. CTV John Benavali Rao has the story.
For truckers across the country, as they pump pricey diesel into their trucks, the numbers are numbing to look at.
Diesel prices are going very high. It's like huge difference.
At Toronto-based CSA Transportation, they move all sorts of products from clothes to health supplements from its terminals to cities across the country and into the U.S.
Yep, these are all going to be filled up.
The VP of Operations, Rebecca Herbsch, showed us some of the trailers ready to be loaded. And with the price of diesel surging, she says the trucking companies they partner with have been charging them a lot more.
They want to raise their rates. They want a fuel surcharge. Some of them are charging 40, 50, 60, 70. We even saw 80% fuel surcharge one day.
Herbsch says after holding off, her company raised its freight rates on Monday, though hasn't yet passed on the full costs of rising fuel to customers. Still, she says if the war continues and diesel stays high, consumers will soon see the result when items hit store shelves.
It means that the cost of products is going to go up. The more that vendors have to pay us to move their goods, especially cross-border, the more that we're going to be paying for goods.
And for those truckers who pay their own fuel bills, the soaring price is hitting hard. The cost to fill up a truck like this that holds about 1,000 liters of diesel has gone up around $700 since the start of the war. Company Puri owns 4 trucks and says his fuel costs have gone up around $4,000 a month.
Need to have prices down, man. Just give us a break.
He says his credit cards are getting maxed and wants to see governments cut taxes on diesel.
We're driving trucks. We're providing food. I work for Walmart, right? My company works for Walmart, and we deliver up north, right? So, I mean, we are struggling 24/7. If they can give us some discount on that, some relief on that, that would be great.
With those in the trucking business worried fuel prices will go even higher and warning it will show up in just about everything. John Benavali Rao, CTV News, Toronto.
There are officially fewer than 80 days to go until Toronto joins cities across the continent in hosting the 2026 FIFA World Cup.
Hundreds of thousands of visitors are expected to stream into the city for the world's most watched sporting event. Today, officials unveiled their mobility plan, highlighting what they're calling a transit-first approach.
It's essential as we welcome the world that our transit system gives a customer experience that is welcoming and makes ease of travel just that, really easy and seamless. And so to that end, we've done a ton of planning around our reliability and our response levels to make sure that reliability is ensured, and we'll have those redundancies across the system through this period. The second part is people. We will have TTC staff in droves everywhere across our system.
Officials estimate around 300,000 visitors will come to Toronto during the World Cup. As the TTC prepares to boost service on bus and streetcar routes that serve Toronto Stadium and other key sites, Metrolink says it's also gearing up for surging ridership on match days.
From June 10th to July 5th, GO Transit will be running service every 15 minutes on the Lakeshore East and Lakeshore West GO rail lines. This will give fans and visitors reliable transit across the region. If you're heading to a match, please heed the warning of this panel. Public transit is the best way to do it. There will be a focus on service over those 6 match days, specifically in Toronto and right around the Exhibition GO station.
For those not taking transit, there will be no public parking near the stadium and the FIFA Fan Festival, and some streets will be closed or limited to local traffic only. Toronto hosts the first ever men's FIFA World Cup match on Canadian soil, June 12th.
And from soccer to baseball, we're just over 24 hours from the first pitch of the Toronto Blue Jays home opener.
After a season where they fell just short of a World Series championship, expectations are high for this team, and fans are excited. CTV's Mike Walker has more.
On the eve of opening day, the Toronto Blue Jays are heading into their 50th season with high expectations, motivated to win after last year's World Series run.
Well, a little bit that it's just the same. I mean, going out there and keep working very hard, trying to do everything to win every game.
Rounder to short, and the Dodgers turn it.
The Blue Jays haven't forgotten about the heartbreaking loss to the LA Dodgers in Game 7 of the World Series, but manager John Schneider says that moment won't define this team.
What will is how we handled ourselves, how we played, and what that does for us going forward. That should be the definition of what we take out of 2025.
Now we know we can kind of match up with any team, and but that also kind of puts a bullseye on our backs.
Kevin Gausman will take the mound against the Athletics, his first opening day start since joining the Blue Jays.
Being able to be on that team last year and then start the first game of this season, to me is just the ultimate, level of respect. And yeah, I definitely don't take it for granted.
The Blue Jays added depth to their starting rotation, acquiring Cy Young contender Dylan Cease. But that rotation will be tested right away, with Jose Barrios, rookie sensation Trey Savage, and Shane Bieber all on the injury list. The infield will also look different following Bo Bichette's departure to the New York Mets and newly acquired third baseman and slugger Kazuma Okamoto from Japan.
I think we got more leverage, some of the adjustments and stuff like that, so we're going to be the best. There's no doubt about it.
They easily should have won last year, so I think their chances are excellent.
While the Blue Jays won't define success as World Series or bust, GM Ross Atkins believes this roster is much stronger than last year.
Bolstering our pitching was a very clear goal and one that we feel that we accomplished. And then the addition of Okamoto is something that we're very excited about with the experiences and the growth of the players.
As part of the pregame festivities, the Blue Jays will unveil their 2025 American League Championship banner, a moment Guerrero Jr. says will be full of emotions. Mike Walker, CTV News.
And just ahead, hundreds of independent artists converge in Toronto. We explore the vast array of artworks and catch up with some of the creators.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV.
Finally, tonight we take you to the Enercare Center, where the Artist Project has taken over for the next 4 days.
More than 300 independent creators from across the country are showing their works. This year, the theme is centered around sports. CTV's Jessica Smith took a visit.
I'm hoping to connect with a lot of people who love art. I think that's the most exciting thing.
Creations in every form as far as the eye can see.
There's so many talented artists here, and it just makes you feel, I don't know, just like filled with energy and excitement.
Artist Project, a larger-than-life art exhibition, is back and even bigger, with Canadian and international artists represented.
Over half of the artists here have never shown at the Artist Project before. So if you've been to here before, it's completely new, and even the artists who have exhibited before have new bodies of work.
With 2026 on track to be another big year for sports in the city, Artist Project has added a themed competition titled The Art of the Game.
We opened it up to artists to submit artworks on the theme of sports and gaming, and a gold medal winner will be announced this evening.
With creations that span every medium, it's an opportunity for emerging artists and seasoned creators to connect.
Learn from what all of these experienced veterans have done that they can pass on to me, talking to other people who are new in this space and what they're excited for, and just share the privilege of being here.
Even to just stand here and watch people walk by and be like, wait, what is that? Is so rewarding. Like, it fills my heart with so much joy, because at the end of the day, that's the reason why I make art, is to bring other people joy.
And support the talents coming out of Canada. Each of the over 300 artists, gallerists, and curators that have work on display will be here throughout the weekend. Artist Project at the Enercare Centre runs until March 29th. Jessica Smith, CTV News.
I'm sure I could spend hours in there. The pieces look great.
They look so, what an amazing place. All that art in one place. What is this portrait painting? I don't know.
Yeah, it's looking a little gray. We could use a little more color in the scenery when it comes to our city skyline right now. But yeah, the rain has moved back in. It's going to continue to be unsettled for the next couple of hours here. One more look at the satellite and radar imagery. Yeah, we're still dealing with some wet weather. But again, this does clear out as we make our way later on this evening and into tomorrow. Beautiful sunshine for your day on Friday, but that's about all the good news I have to report. It's going to be very cold for the kids heading off to school. A little warmer by the walk home in the afternoon. Certainly warmer for the second half of the weekend, and a couple of days with temperatures in the teens into next week. Michelle and Nathan.
13 degrees. Look forward to it. Thank you, Lindsay. That's it for us, but be sure to join Omar Sachedina tonight at 11 for CTV National News, followed by Zoraida Allman with your next local newscast at 11:30.
Meantime, our coverage continues anytime on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and all of us here, thank you for watching. Have a great night.